this working. Hare Krishna. Okay. What does that mean? Yeah. All right, so today is the disappearance day of Jayadev Goswami. So we're going to speak about Jayadev Goswami today. All right, and first we'll chant this prayer. It's called Saparshada Gaura Viraha Vilapa. Ye Anila Prema Dana Karuna Prachu Ye Anila Prema Dana Karuna Prachu Hey no Prabhu Kota Kela Charya Yataku Hey no Prabhu Kota Kela Charya Yataku Kahamura Saruprupa Kahasanatan Kahamura Saruprupa Kahasanatan Gahadasurat Gunata Bhattita Bhavan Bhavan Kahamura Bhatta Juga Kahakaviras Kahamura Bhatta Juga Kahakaviras Ekakale Kota Gela Gora Nataras Pashane Kutimo Mata Anale Pasibo Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Goranga Gunera Nede Kotakele Pabo Goranga Gunera Nede Kotagele Pabo Sesaba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Vilas Say Saba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Belas Say Sangana Paya Kande Naro Tamadas Say Sangai Kande Naro Tamadas Jayatilo Premadana Corona Pracho Jayatilo Premadana Corona Pracho Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Ati Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jaya Goswami Jaya Jaya Dev Goswami Jaya Jaya Dev Goswami Jaya Jaya Dev Goswami. Jai Om Vishnu Pad. Paramahansa Paravidacharya, also Teta Sachashi. Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chatana, Devakavananda, Goswami Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai, ISKCON founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Garadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Kaimakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturam Ki Jai. Jagadata Swami Ki Jai. Munamaya Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai. Samvaita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namah Vishnu Vadaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutle Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Samani Dinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne Nivashesha Shinyavadi Paschatya Jayatardi. So I'm going to read the translation to this poem by Narottam Das Thakur. Okay. Thank you. He who brought the treasure of divine love and was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where my Swarup Damodar? And Rupa Goswami, where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, Omagana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So now we are going to talk about the biography of Jayadev Goswami, who's a very, very important personality. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would regularly hear his Gita Govinda. And we're going to talk about the Gita Govinda. So, Omagana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Maha. So, anyway, so Jayadev Goswami's father's name was Bojadev and his mother's name was Bama Devi. And he became very renounced at an early age. He was very determined never to get married. Never, never, never. Renunciation. And in order to execute his renounced order of life, he went to Jagannath Puri, where he resided for many years and visited many holy places. And he was offering service to Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath was very, very pleased with him. And actually the ruler of Orissa, the Gajapati, was pleased with him. And Jayadev started initiating many disciples there. But then something happened that interfered with his determination to be renounced. Once upon a time, there was a Brahmin who had no children. And you see in India, the people worship Krishna, worship even trees, like you see around Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Yoga Pith, where he appeared, there's so many things that are tied onto trees, like little things. That's because people want children, or want a son, usually. So the ladies do that. It's a very common thing. So this Brahmin worshipped Lord Jagannath. My dear Lord Jagannath, give me a daughter. And he was blessed with a daughter. His daughter was named Padmavati. And the Brahmana, being very devoted to the Lord, said, I offer her to you. How many parents would do that? Of course, they may say that, but then they take their kid back. Just like we've had people come to the temple. I'm offering my car to Krishna. And I say, thank you very much. And they said, no, you don't understand. The car's for me, and I just want Krishna to bless it. But this Brahmin actually wanted to offer his daughter to Lord Jagannath. And then Lord Jagannath talked to him and said, one of my great devotees named Jayadev has renounced home and dedicated himself to me. Go and offer your daughter to him. So it was a shock. Jayadev Goswami had a real shock at this point. So the Brahmana went to Jayadev's place and said, here's my daughter. It's Lord Jagannath's request. You have to accept her. Jayadev said, no way. I'm not getting married. I had a very simple, nice life before. So, but the Brahmana just dropped her off there. Can you imagine that? Just like, oh my God. Oh, and she was mature by that point. And Jayadev was much older than her. So he just dropped her off there. She was probably 17, 18 years old, age. Can you imagine that? Like a sannyasi, and outside his door, there's a lady. So anyway, he just dropped her off, and they returned home. Jayadev was very embarrassed. Here he is, renounced, maybe wearing saffron. And he said to her, where do you want to go? I'll take you anywhere, but you can't stay here with me. So he was really upset. Actually, most of you didn't hear this particular story before. So with a pathetic voice, the girl answered, at the command of Lord Jagannath, my father has offered me to you. You are my husband, my life. Oh my God. Even if you forsake me, I shall not leave you, but serve at your feet to the best of my ability. So Jayadev was left with no other alternative than to get married. And he became a householder. And he installed the deity of Narayan in his house. He had to have a house. So Padmavati was very dedicated to this deity of Lord Jagannath. And Jayadev Goswami's devotion increased more and more and more. It's not that he was in Maya because he got married. And he composed a book known as the Gita Govinda. And while he was composing this book, he described various rasas, and Baba's rasa means basically tastes of relationships and emotions. It's a very beautiful book. We're going to read some excerpts from this book in a second. But then there were certain things that were lacking in the book, such as the certain intense aspects of the relationship between Radha and Krishna. So he was writing in one section of the book about the pastimes of Radharani, and as he was writing, he wrote about how she repented after Krishna had gone away, and he became lost in thought. And so then thought came to his mind that Lord Krishna, in order to apologize to Srimati Radharani would touch the feet of Srimati Radharani. And he thought, this is not practical. You got Purusha, Prakriti, the supreme male, and Prakriti. He says, basically he was comparing it to his situation with his wife. He said, I'm not going to touch her feet. This is just not right. So he became confused. He decided first to take his bath and return to his writing later. And while he was taking his bath, the Lord himself, Jagannath, Krishna, appeared in the form of Jayadev and took his meal. Padmavati, Jayadev's wife, served him the meal. Padmavati was very surprised. Why'd you come back so soon? I thought you were going to take your bath. She said, what's the matter? You just left a few minutes ago. Why have you returned so soon? So Lord Jagannath replied to Padmavati. He said, while I was on my way to the sea, a thought occurred to me. I didn't want to forget it, so I came back to note it down. So then Lord Jagannath, in the form of Jayadev Goswami, went to Jayadev's room, and with his very own hand, he wrote down the verse, which is very famous, Dehi Pada Palava Mudharam, in Jayadev's manuscript book. And that's the verse that states that Krishna bows down at Srimati Radharani's feet. So then Lord Jagannath went away in the form of Jayadev Goswami. And the actual Jayadev came back. And he saw something that shocked him, that was completely against Vedic culture. His wife was eating. Now, generally, the husband would eat first, and when the husband finished, the wife would take what? The remnants. That's the Vedic system. I hope all your householders follow that. So, no, actually, people don't follow that nowadays. But anyway, that was this. So Jayadev was shocked. And he said, what? Because, here's this Padmavati, very chaste, service attitude, ready to go to hell to serve her husband. And all of a sudden, she's eating nicely, and he hasn't eaten yet. Imagine, this is a cultural thing. So Padmavati was also shocked to see Jayadev coming back so quickly. And she was confused. And she said, look, you came, you went your bath, took your bath, came back to write, and took prasadam already. And then you left a few seconds ago. So, what's happening? How could you finish your bath within such a short time and return home? And if that wasn't you, who was that person who came here to write something down in your book? And who are you? It's very confusing. Because sometimes the demigods, they would imitate human beings. Then she said, you already did all these things. And you went to your room. Jayadev was wondering what's happening. So he immediately went to his room, opened his manuscript, and saw the verse that he had been considering. And it was composed with golden letters, not the ordinary ink that he was using. So he just felt Krishna's presence, obviously. Krishna's present there. And tears rolled down, he rolled on the ground, and he called his wife, and he said, you are the most fortunate person because you have attained the goal of your birth. So in other words, thinking that the husband, just contrasting this thing, thinking the husband would never bow down to his wife. Because Krishna, Krishna would never bow down to Radharani. So he basically ended up, at least verbally, bowing down to his wife. He said, you are the darshan of Lord Jagannath, and I am such a fallen soul that I have been deprived of the darshan of Lord Jagannath's manifested self. So he was praising his wife. So this Gita Govinda, when it was finished, became very, very popular in the Vaishnava community, had many intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And there's a statement in the Gita Govinda, which is very beautiful. For those who relish the remembrance of the pastimes of Sri Hari and are always anxious to hear those transcendental narrations, these verses, sweet as honey, have been composed by Jayadev with the blessings of Mother Saraswati. So Gita Govinda became more and more popular, and the king at that time of Puri was very envious of Jayadev Goswami's fame. So the king thought, I'm a better poet than Jayadev Goswami. And he composed a Gita Govinda also called the Abhinava Gita Govinda. And he asked his advisors, you should go and make copies of this and distribute it everywhere, book distribution. He was trying to make it more popular than Jayadev Goswami's. The king's advisors said, not a good idea. People are going to make fun of you. It's impossible to compare, even his advisors, which are different than the advisors nowadays who are afraid, isn't it, to talk to the President of the United States, tell him the truth. They told him this is like comparing a lamp to the sun. But the king said, no, go ahead and do it. So there was a big controversy, and the Brahmanas decided to settle the controversy, let Lord Jagannath settle the controversy. So we're going to place both manuscripts before the deities and put them there right before the deities, the deity of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Maharani. They take rest for the night. So next day came time for the Govinda prayers. Of course, they don't play the Govinda prayers there. Came time to greet the deities. So they opened up the curtains, and they found Jayadev's Gita Govinda clasped to Lord Jagannath's chest, like that. And then they found the other Gita Govinda scattered all around in pieces. So there's many stories about the Gita Govinda. And these are very beautiful stories. The one story is that one day a woman gardener was singing verses from the Gita Govinda while seated. She was a gardener, and she was in her garden or gardening around the temple. And Lord Jagannath heard it, and he wanted to listen to it, so he came out of the temple. And as a result, the Lord's body was covered with dirt and thorns because he was sitting in the garden. When the Pujari went into the temple, he noticed that there were marks of dirt on the deity of Lord Jagannath. And it called for an explanation by the attendants. And basically, I guess in those days, people were able to talk to Krishna a lot better than we are. Anyway, Krishna explained that he went to the garden to hear the music of this particular lady. So the king sent his men to bring this lady before him, and the king listened to the verses of the Gita Govinda from this lady, and the descendants of this particular lady recite verses from the Gita Govinda regularly in the temple of Lord Jagannath even today. Beautiful story. Of course, there's the story from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to visit the temple of Yameshwara, there was a female singer singing the Gita Govinda right outside the Jagannath temple, and she sang, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's a Gujari tune in a very sweet voice. And it was so beautiful that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately became ecstatic. He didn't know, because he was in so much ecstasy, whether it was a woman or a man. He just forgot about the external world. And he ran in ecstasy to meet this singer. And thorns pricked his body. And Govinda ran very quickly behind him. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran faster and faster and was getting ready to basically embrace this girl. And Govinda caught him and tackled him. And Govinda said, "It's a woman singing." As soon as the Lord heard the word woman, oh my God, he became externally conscious, and he said, "Govinda, you have saved my life. If I had touched the body of the woman, I would have certainly died. I shall never be able to repay." This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita. "I shall never be able to repay my debt to you." Govinda replied, "Lord Jagannath has saved you. I am insignificant." So, one time, the king of Puri, Lakshmana Sen, who loved, because I guess they kept switching kings of Puri as kings died. He loved Lord Jagannath, he loved Jayadev's position as a great Vaishnava, and he wanted Jayadev to become his minister at his court. Jayadev, when he heard this, he became very angry, and he was disturbed that his residence had been polluted by a king. Remember, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the same way. And Jayadev said to the king, "I'm leaving Navadvip. I'm leaving Jagannath Puri, sorry. I refuse to reside here any longer." So this is it. This was in Navadvip, actually. "I refuse to reside here any longer. Kings are always involved in so much worldly activity. My residence has now become polluted. Therefore, I'm leaving. I am offended." Then Lakshmana Sen paid his obeisance to Jayadev, and he said, "Don't leave my kingdom. I meant no offense. It's true, this royal order is such a despicable occupation. We have to be involved in so many undesirable activities to protect the country. But if you leave our kingdom, then it will be a great loss. You've given your word. I know you can't break it, so please," his word was, "I'm going to leave your kingdom. Just take your residence across the Ganges." So this is in Navadvip area. At that time, Jayadev was living just near the place where the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir is. "At least then," the king said, "you'll still be in our kingdom. Otherwise, if we lose your association, this will be very inauspicious for everyone. We only want the blessings of the Vaishnavas. For this reason have I come to you to request you to use your knowledge for the upliftment of the entire kingdom." So Jayadev, seeing this, that the king had become humble, he realized he was a devotee and not just a materialistic king. So then after that, Jayadev said, "I will live across the river. You can come also and visit me, but you can't come as a king." It's like Prataparuja with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. "Come in ordinary dress like a Vaishnava Brahmin, and then we'll speak about Krishna Katha." So this devotee king built a hut made of leaves for Jayadev Goswami. And it's described that Lord Krishna appeared there to Jayadev and his wife. And this is in the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Lord Chaitanya Lord Jagannath or Krishna revealed his form as Lord Chaitanya to Jayadev Goswami. And he said, "Soon I'm going to appear to perform congregational chanting before taking sannyas and going to Puri. And in Puri, I'm going to relish your Gita Govinda." So his deity, Jayadev Goswami's deity, is known as Radha Madhava. And one time, it's recorded in one historical book or biographical book, that Jayadev was repairing the roof of his cottage during a hot summer afternoon. Krishna took pleasure on him, and the Lord himself began to drill holes in the covering sheets, whatever that means, and pass them to Jayadev, I guess things that you're going to seal your roof with. And Jayadev was thinking that it was his wife, Padmavati, helping him. However, when he came down after finishing the job, he didn't find anyone there. He realized it must have been Krishna, or his deity in disguise. On another occasion, it's described in this biography that Radha Madhava, the deity, in the guise of Jayadev, ate the rice bhoga prepared by Padmavati. Phew, there's actually many stories here. So, one other story, amazing story. One time Jayadev went out for raising funds for his seva, and dacoits attacked him and threw him into a well. And a king passed that way, and he heard someone chanting the name of Krishna from the well. Then the king rescued Jayadev Goswami and took him in his own palanquin to the palace. And the king introduced daily Vaishnava seva at his palace. And there's many stories about these dacoits. I'm not going to read more stories, but basically, there's some description that Jayadev Goswami was so merciful to the dacoits when they were actually captured. He actually offered them money instead of doing any harm to them. He didn't feel that he should take some vengeance against them. Phew, there's so many stories here. I'm not going to do this. There's another story about that Padmavati was tested one time by a queen because Padmavati said, "Without my husband, I can't live." So she gave false news. The queen gives some false news to Padmavati that your husband has passed away, and Padmavati left her body. And then Jayadev Goswami came back and chanted to her, and she came back to life. That's another story. It's probably hagiography, but it's a beautiful story. It's a nice story. I like it. During the last days of his life, Jayadev returned to his home and lived there to the end. That's in Navadvip, Mayapur area. And he used to go for a bath in the Ganges every day. And one day he was unable to go, and he felt disturbed about it. And Ganga Devi came roaring in a stream to his village, and the village of Kenduli. He breathed his last in the Kenduli village, and in his memory, a festival is held every year. More than 50,000 devotees attend this mela. And Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda has been translated into so many different languages, and so many different commentaries written on the Gita Govinda. Jayadev Goswami also composed a book called the Chandra Loka. And so now I'm going to read some verses from the Gita Govinda so you get a little sample. I have the whole Gita Govinda here, but I'm not going to read the whole Gita Govinda, obviously. Take a long, long time. Let me just read the English, because the Sanskrit's going to take too long. We only have about 5 more minutes to class. These are just a sampling of verses, not in any sort of order, consecutive order or not. And there's many illustrated editions of the Gita Govinda where these beautiful pictures have been painted to illustrate the different aspects of the pastimes being described. My dear friends, this is 111, first chapter, 11th verse. My dear friends, just see how Krishna is enjoying the season of spring. With the gopis embracing each of his limbs, he is like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis and the entire creation. With his soft bluish-black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flowers, he has created a festival for Cupid. This is actually Prabhupada's translation from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4, text 224. So many of these verses have been translated by Prabhupada. Here in the arena of the rasa dance, I remember Krishna, who is always fond, this is another verse, who was always fond of joking and performing pastimes. This is also from CC. Anjalila, chapter 15, text 84. Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, this is another verse, left aside the other gopis during the rasa dance and took Srimati Radharani to his heart. For she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the essence of his desires. That's from CC, Adi 4, text 219. Another verse. Being afflicted by the arrow of Cupid, and unhappily regretting his mistreating Radharani, Madhava, Lord Krishna, began to search for Srimati Radharani along the banks of the Yamuna River. When he failed to find her, he entered the bushes of Vrindavan and began to lament. It's beautiful, isn't it? That's translated by Prabhupada. Madhya 8, text 107. So it's bona fide translations, all Prabhupada. I mean, there's academic translations, too, that have been done. I have one, and it's not so pleasing to read. No, it's about some scholar, mundane scholar. But I have another one translated by a devotee that's really beautiful. But the Gita Govinda is very advanced. When you are ready to read it, you know the whole Bhagavad Gita, know the whole Bhagavatam, the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, then you're qualified. And you're not experiencing lust. Like when you hear about Krishna kissing the gopis, you don't project yourself into that situation. You and your wife or girlfriend, or you and your boyfriend, or whatever, or husband. So anyway, and there's within the Gita Govinda, there's a series of verses that are called the Shrita Kamala, which is a poem sung by many ISKCON devotees, and I don't have time to read the poem in Sanskrit, but it's very, very beautiful. I'm going to read some of the translation of the verses. 1. Glories, glories to Lord Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is bedecked by jeweled earrings and garlanded with forest flowers, and whose feet are marked with a lotus. The Shrita Kamala Kuchamandala He. Some of you may recognize this song. Drita Kundala Kalita Lalita Vadambala Jaya Jaya Deva Hari. You recognize it? Many times you do this verse. Yeah. Sing it. And then the second one is the Lord's face shines like a whirl of the sun. He removes the miseries of his devotees and is the resting place of the minds of the swan-like sages. Glories, glories to Lord Hari. And the Sanskrit of that is Dinamani Mandala Mandana He Bhava Kandana He Munijana Manasahangsa Jaya Jaya Deva Hari. All right, anyway, any questions? Yeah. Well, he started in Mayapur, went to Jagannath Puri, then came back to Mayapur at the end. And then he was living right next to, originally living right next to Mayapur Chandradaya Mandir, and then he went across the river at that point when the king actually upset him. Yeah, that's where Pramavati came, because that's where the Brahmin dropped his daughter off. Can you imagine? Like you go to open the door of your house, I would probably run. I would probably run away, you know, get on the next plane, you know. But he hadn't, in a formal way, taken sannyas. He had just renounced this.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Bharavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipan Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Adipurusham. Namo Vishnupataya Krishna Prasnaya Mutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Dhamaniki Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bhaja Negevasesha Shunyavadi Asyachaladesa Tarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanajana Sidreta Gurada Sivasade Gorakturina Jayana Shri Krishna Nirana Ramanajana Na Shidwaita Gurada Sivasade Gorakturina Shri Krishna Nirana Ramanajana Dvaita Gurada Sivasade Gorakturina Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Adi Rama, Go Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Goloka Nana Rana, Goloka Nana Ragate. Nayarad, Goloka Nana Rana, Goloka Nana Rate. Nayarad, hey, Rade, Rane, Nayarate. Nayarate, 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 Nayarate. Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad. Paramahansa, Acharya, Sahashi, Shiva, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Pranana, Bhaktivedanta, Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Anantakoti, Vaishnava, Namacharya, Shilaheda, Thakur ki Jai. Friends, say go Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Ram Nityananda Shivaya Radha, Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Prabhupada, Shaima Kunda Radha, Iri Gaura Jai, Vachuranam ki Jai, Swami ki Jai. Shivani Glasi Devi ki Jai, Sabhita Bhakta Vrindi ki Jai, all glorious the symbol of devotees, all glorious the symbol of devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Please join the Harinam tomorrow at 11:30 at Weaver Street Market. It's going to be a really nice, warm day, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there having their lunch, listening to our Harinam. So please come tomorrow, if you can, 11:30 to 1 at Weaver Street Market. Chaitodarpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipan Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Chororapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamai Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Davabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Garudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabhukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Nimishena Chakshusha Bravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Badamadamanastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from your ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shastika ki.